Take it away, Scott.
Excellent. Just give it a minute. Wait for people to join. Show us your dwarfs, Tom. While we're here, quick.
Out of context, that could sound very dodgy.
Yeah, someone's just joined us there.
We can see him. Oh.
Not very good, but okay.
See if we can try and get a light on it. Jeez, blind everyone. Just about. Oh. Anyway.
So what? 1 down, 10 to go, or?
No, I've got a whole selection up here. I'm just doing the runners now. I've done all the linemen. And I've just got all the just painting up the runners now, and then I've got the blitzers and the troll slayers, and I'm just wondering whether I should get a death roller to play.
A death roller. You are just embracing the squat, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. although I have just done a quick back of a beer mat kind of calculation on the Chaos Dwarfs. You can get 2 bull centaurs, 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers, and 1 flamesmith, and the rest of hobgoblins, 2 rerolls, and Hathark the Unstoppable. If I was going to play that at the Ipswich Classic, which is quite a meaty, impressive lineup.
You're just itching to play more than one team, aren't you, in one tournament?
Maybe that should be the case. I think you should be allowed to do that. You should be reserve team.
I can see we've got the other half of your genetic makeup in chat as well, Phil. Good evening, Chris.
No, that was me that typed that.
Oh, was it? Oh, I thought it was...
I've got the control, Scott. If I really wanted to, I could put anything I wanted now on screen. But as we are live and broadcast into
the nation, how many people have we got? 3?
5.
Or more?
Well, no, there's, according to the stats, we've got 4 people in chat. 3 of them are us.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the mystery 4th then?
Oh, it's John. Hi, John.
What, Reader?
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend. Drive safely, John, if you're streaming in the car.
Right, should we get underway?
Let's. Why not then? Good evening, everybody. Good evening, ADBBL coaches and anyone else who has stumbled upon tonight's Monday night roundup. Welcome to the Week 3 offerings here in Season 8 of the ADBBL League. What have we got for you tonight for Week 3 review? Well, we've got all 12 games to look forward to, all of the analysis, all of the opinions by 2 very respectful, 2 auspicious and, dare I say, decadent individuals. So first of all, it's a good evening to the coach of the Clueless Crusaders, Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good. How's your week been so far?
Yes, not too bad considering it's only Monday.
Even. Sounds wonderful. I bet Friday can't come quick enough for you. And as well as the audacity that is Mr. Tom Hovell, then we have the decadence in the form of, once again, the man, the myth, the power of the controls, the technical wizard for this evening, Mr. Phil Coe. Good evening, Phil.
Good evening, Scott. Good evening, Tom.
And how has your Monday or week been so far, Phil?
Well, my Monday, I've actually been painting models. I won't tell you what they are. Don't want to spoil anything, but I've been painting a new team up.
Now, if that's not a cliffhanger for other coaches out there, I don't know what is. So is this your Season 9 offering, Phil?
Oh, I don't know. I've still got those lizards I want to use, but I don't want to use them until I have the magnificent end zone I'm planning for them.
Look forward to it. Look forward to it. I guess she's gnomes then.
No comment.
Yes, okay. Get them out the box. Okay. Not going to be a Scott's Corner tonight. We've got a lot to cover and to share with you. So what we're going to do, if you could do the honours, Phil, the first match we're going to go for tonight is actually one featuring Phil as well. So this is the Gilded Knights versus Honkington's volley. We're going to be looking at this clash between Khorne and between those little stunty fellas who Phil may or may have not been painting. So going into this match then, the Gilded Knights unbeaten. The Resurgent Gnomes had won one and lost one, including, beating Nurgle and then losing to Chorfs. So, first of all, a lot of SP, a lot of injuries with 10 on the board as well. So, Phil, talk us through this match. Was this a very challenging one to stop those Gnomes?
Yes and no. It was all or nothing with the dice rolls in this game for both teams. I was after the first couple of turns, I was looking forward to it. I put a treeman off the pitch, second turn. I was like, lovely, love that, not a problem. Let's keep going. Got another casualty, nice. And then I took my eye off the ball literally, and yeah, went 1-0 down. I had a choice to make. I could mark a player or try and pick the ball up. I went to try and pick the ball up, and it was the wrong call. And I gave a Fox an easy pickup in the end zone. Yeah. But, persisted, saw out the first half, got another casualty, or another couple of casualties actually. And, I thought I can get this back, not a problem. And then the second half started, and my two main players, as you can see on screen now, both went off with injuries and a stat bust.
Two very skilled up Khorne goals there for you, Phil.
Yeah, didn't enjoy that. But I equally got my own back. I took that pesky Fox off the pitch. Caused him to miss a game, I believe. Managed to get.
And you stat busted him.
I did indeed, on strength, which I know they're not very strong foxes, but when it's a fox that did the damage to my Khorne gores, it wasn't a tree man or anything. It was a fox. I managed to equalise, and then saw out the end of the half. Got a draw in the end. Happy it's not a loss. I think both coaches would both be happy and disappointed with that result, because based on the dice rolls we were getting, I think first half, after the dice rolls I was getting in the first half, I'm disappointed with a draw. Dice rolls I was getting in the second half, I'm happy with a draw. And I think it's the other way around for the other team.
Very good. Tom, from your perspective then, are you surprised by the continued resilience of the Gnomes, especially as Phil's told us he took a tree off the pitch at the start? He's, getting rid of a Gnome illusionist then, and his dice are really hot. So what was your thoughts on the Gnomes, Tom?
Yeah, I think I said this last week, that clearly the people are starting to get the kind of handle on the Gnomes. And I'm quite intrigued to know, are they quite slippery then, are they, the Gnomes, when they're playing against you?
They can be. I mean, luckily for me, it was majority of the time he was rolling ones when trying to dodge away. And that's just bad luck. If he was getting average dice rolls, they would have been all over the place. And I probably would have been hard. I probably would have lost, if I'm honest. But, I took that as like, keep rolling ones, fine, I'm happy with that. Otherwise, yeah, they are a bit slippery. Those foxes, definitely. It's that movement 8 and all that dodging to the foxes.
On a match too, yeah. And stunty as well, and sidestep, that's pretty decent. What about the wrestle on these guys? Because the linemen have wrestled.
The wrestle only came up once in the game.
Oh.
It was used tactically by my opponent. Because it was my last player that I rolled a both down with. He decided to use a wrestle because it was going to be the end of my turn anyway. And he just didn't want to lose that particular player off the pitch because it was keeping my guy occupied. and I wasn't going to attempt to dodge with the Bloodseeker. So, tactically he took the wrestle there. Otherwise, it didn't really come up or was much use.
Okay.
So sounds like then Nuffle's blessings upon the dice made it a game of two halves, to use a wonderful endeavour and a cliche. Are you happy? You're happy though with the 1-1 draw and the fact that after 3 you've won 2, drawn 1, Phil. Still unbeaten, still looking good.
I'm happy it wasn't a loss. Whether I'm happy it was a draw or not, I don't know. I'm still undecided on that one. I would have liked more out of it.
But if you were to play gnomes again, what would your focus be? Would it be the tree men and the foxes? Would they be your main thing to watch out for?
Oh yeah, I'd do the same again. Definitely. Definitely. If I can get rid of another tree again, if I play him again, I will do that. I will do that. And if I can keep the foxes at bay, I will try and do that. They are the two. They're going to pound you into the ground. One of them's going to pound you into the ground. The other one's going to run rings around you. If you can keep them at bay, I think you can get a good result against the gnome team.
They are, as Tom, you mentioned, starting to provide quite a bit of resistance as people do get familiar, especially with the agility of the foxes and that strength of the tree when they're on the pitch. So another good win, another good result for Simon for the gnomes this season. Yeah, and a really good start in terms of that match, especially with all that SP, Phil, you've got in the bank to spend. Okay. Let's move on now to our next match, match 2 of week 3. This is the Wolverswampton Shamblers and Jane against Simon and his new Kill Billy Howlers. Another appearance by Krieg Rustgouger for this one as well. Simon making most of the inducements. And I did notice as well that Simon has actually bought another reroll. He did start the season with just the one reroll. He's actually bought up to 2 now as well. Looking at the description and the feedback from both coaches in Discord, Krieg was also a bit of a beast with his ball and chain, but a lack of direction sort of put pay to any impact he might have had. They describe it as sort of more flower arranging between the two teams as opposed to rearranging faces. And yeah, it was a pretty much, it looked like not a lot happened in terms of the actual tour play feed. A really close match in terms of casualties. Again, not a lot happening there and low levels of SP. Jane, though, taking it with the good old Ghoul Runner, who did come out of it with a badly hurt injury. Tom, you've played Jane a number of times. Do you think having Krieg and the extra reroll was a must?
Yes, but it's a shame that the number of people have taken Krieg in the past, and he never really shows up, unfortunately, by the looks of things. I don't know, how much is he on the actual thing? Is he quite expensive, or is he 170 or something? So I don't know whether it might have been worth getting someone else on, because as you say, it's one of those strange ones where, on tour play, it doesn't look like they did much at all, but by the sounds of things, it was just the dice playing its own little game and keeping things very average. Jane has got a very decent team here now. She's got a good competence as to how to play them, so I kind of would have assumed that was going to be the score, on the basis that I believe this is the first time that Simon's been playing with the Chaos Chosen, and I think he's still trying to work out best processes, best way of working with them. And as you say, again, I'm not too sure whether I would have waited to buy a reroll during the season. I might have gone with 2 rerolls before the season, because they're only, I can't remember how much they are, but they're doubled it during the season, aren't they?
They're 100k mid-season. The reason Simon said he took that was because he wanted to get 4 blockers in the lineup to start with, as opposed to 3 and 2 rerolls. What's your take on that, Phil? Would you have gone for the 4th blocker or the 2nd reroll?
It's players on the pitch. Got to take the players on the pitch. every time. I'd also rather have, I'd rather have the subs as well. I'd have the extra people with subs than the reroll, because there's no guarantee you ever have to use a reroll either. They're useful to have, but when you don't have them, you learn to play without them. And I think having those spare players can be just as much of an advantage as being able to reroll a dice.
It was, and so this as well. Okay, this result then for Jane as well. Her second win in a row following a loss to, I can't remember who, some sort of corn coach who sat there and just won the match. So Jane, again, not getting the greatest of SP to returns on that, but she's still got a lot in terms of firepower within that. Fenris the Wolf still looking good, 15 SP, wrestle, tackle, jump. And obviously her ghoul runner with 16 SP in terms of block, sidestep. So really, Jane's in a good position in terms of building on that for the rest of the season. What's your thoughts on in terms of Jane's next steps, Phil? Do you think she's looking good for a top 4 finish?
Got the team for it, definitely. I'd like to know what else is going to appear on this werewolf. One SPP away from another skill. I'd like to know what it's going to be. That's going to be a very dangerous player to come against.
Could be as well. We just had a comment in chat. This is from Jack. Evening, Jack. Did you post the link to the stream on Discord?
Yes, it should be in the feed. And there's one in Discord called upcoming streams, which it should automatically be there.
So if you want to jump on there, Jack, or if you know anybody who has Discord not found the link and you can point them in the direction, that would be super, super helpful.
I think Chris is logged on as well, so he might be sharing it about a bit.
And he might be sharing the link as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Good evening, other Mr. Co, if you are listening. So we're going to go from the Necro and Corn, and now we're going to stick with a bit of Corn then. So we're going to go for the Rust Bay Riptide, James and his Corn against Jack and his North Yagathan Mewers. Interesting one in terms of this. If you look at this, the match is on YouTube, guys, if you do want to go in and watch this back as well. A really good set of inducements here. And inducements is going to be a bit of a theme we'll talk about through this evening. So James deciding to utilize his 260k, picking up a team mascot for the option of the possible extra reroll. Plus he's got Acorn the Squirrel and the mighty stabbing gutter runner himself, Skitter stab as well. Do you think, looking at this then, in terms of the teams, very, very close, James obviously having 2 losses to start with, Jack having a bit of a mixed bag as well, a win and some losses. So do you think that in this instance, this was a case of the 2 inducements, the 2-star players really giving James that extra edge over Norse, Phil?
I would say so, based on one of them scoring a touchdown. That was a fairly decent buy there for an inducement. Sad thing is, he then meets his maker in the second half, right at the end. Not often you see a star player become dead in a game, is it?
True. Skitter's obviously only got armor 8, so he can be a bit vulnerable, particularly with the stab. He's obviously got to remain standing next to the person he's possibly failed in terms of a stab roll as well. 2 very agile players, quite a number of injuries, and actually if you watch the match, it's quite a tactical encounter as well. 2 casualties each, the 1 death, which unfortunately was the Skitter. So a pretty solid match, which Jack couldn't get into. So Tom, from your perspective, do you think this is going to really give James now a platform he can build on?
Yes and no. I think, like you say, he was relying on the star players by those things, and now he's got, I think, 3 stat busted players, which is a bit unfortunate, and they're all armor, which for a Corn team can be a bit problematic, I believe. He's now got 2 linemen with armor 7 and a Bloodseeker with armor 9. it's going to be. He hasn't had the best of starts. It's been a bit up and down for him, but I bet he's pleased to come away with a 2-0 win on this. I have unfortunately not seen or had a chance to see the actual game, so you might have more to bring to this than I do as to how quickly and how easily it was with the touchdowns. But from what you've said and from what I've heard on chat, it was a bit of a as you say, tactical game where things were moving quite slowly.
It was a tactical game, and the one thing I noticed watching this was whilst the corn guys were moving in terms of when they had possession, Jack was shadowing pretty well. Some good blocking, some good positional in terms of his cage and his defense. But you always felt when you had something with like Skitter, when you've got a gutter runner with movement 9 plus that 2 up and the dodge as well, you always thought that, if there was a breakthrough needed and a bit of shenanigans, it was always going to be the rat. So I suspect that Jack was very, very pleased, even though it came towards the end on turn 16 or at the end on turn 16 when he was killed. Yeah, it would have always been a consideration between that and the mighty Acorn in terms of where they could dodge to next. So, first win of the season for James. Jack and his Agathon Mewers, the mighty Norse, they go on to have played 5 games already. Jack's absolutely ripping through his games already. So, played 5, drawn 2, lost 2, 1-1. There's a long way to go. Still another 3 matches for him to play, so all to play for as well. So that's one punch you in the face team to another punch you in the face team, and that moves us on to then vamp on vamp action. Moving to our next match of the season. Good evening, Mr. John Reeder, and all you other vampire coaches out there. Good evening, Andy, as well. So this is the Transfiguration Terrors, never say it properly, versus the Suffolk Suckers. Yes, that's Suffolk Suckers. And in this one, really, if we look at it, a 2-0 win for the Terrors. A lot of good SP there, 16 SP in particular. Over to you, Tom, as our resident vampire coach on the stream here. In terms of the results, John, a very experienced coach with a lot of skills there on this team, and only his second match, although he did come into this game unbeaten still. Was this literally a case of experience and skills just beating that vampire uncertainty?
Well, you look at what the Suffolk Suckers are bringing to the actual field, as well as their team. They're bringing 2 very good star players, Ivan the Animal Death Shroud and Wilhelm Cheney, who I really, really rate. He's a really good super star player, and I'd always use him on it. It's clear from the outcome that John has put enough of these skills on his team to kind of alleviate any pain that comes with bloodlust, to be honest, and to deflect anything that's coming along. This team is a real powerhouse now. Even though it got the Suffolk Suckers got an injury. There's a bit of tit for tat, really. They got an injury on a thrall on turn 5, but lo and behold, one of John's thralls actually injured Wilhelm and got him out of the match on turn 6, which is a bit of a.
I think that was his blitzer.
It was his blitzer. Sorry, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. But he's looking at his blitzer, which is pretty impressive. Which unfortunately takes it out of the game, and he is probably the better of the 2 star players, to be honest, to actually go and score. Equally, a very quick first touchdown on turn 5, which is interesting, and then clearly just played the long game and to get the second touchdown in turn 15. So, yeah, John's team is definitely one to be looking out for. If I was a betting man, that's a team that's definitely going to get to at least the quarterfinals.
Okay, so a lot of pressure and expectation. Phil, do you echo those sentiments? Especially if you look at the game management that John displayed, lots of completions, getting rid of a star player and then controlling it to score towards the end. Then is that someone you'd like to avoid?
Yes. Have you seen this team? Block, dodge, pro, leader. Block, dodge, pro. Block, dodge, strip ball, block, dodge, and then a lineman with pro. This is a scary team. And when you've got someone whose knowledge is as advanced as John's is in the game, can anyone stop him?
Well, he's got 4 rerolls. He's got 5 dedicated fans, and he's got plenty of thralls in the bank if he does fail a bloodlust with a pro as well. So that seems to be giving him another level in terms of the way he plays styles. It can free up from what could be a conservative, having to consider your position on the thralls every drive as well. So yeah. I think Mr. John Reeder is going to be one to watch in terms of the favourites, maybe for regaining that championship from season 5. So, and again, Andy, only 2 matches in, plenty of time and lots of places to go. So moving on from Vampire on Vampire then, we're now going to go and look at Chorfs on Corn. So this is Harry and the Top Hat Society against Coach Acredes, Scott from the store, and the Bleeding Clowns as well. So the Bleeding Clowns, 16 SP, 2 deaths on the Chaos Dwarf side. Didn't think we'd hear that this season. And they were 2 blockers as well. It's a very controlled and disciplined match by Scott. Harry, as you can see in that, nothing seemed to stick, whether it was fouls or break armor. And when he did foul with the Chaos Dwarf blocker, got sent off as well. So, Phil, was this a case, in your opinion, of a relatively new team with a relatively new coach, Harry, versus Scott, who's got lots of experience, and one of those nights when it's just not your night, you just need to move on?
Yeah, I think you summed it up quite perfectly there, Scott. I say, Chaos Dwarf team, new team, everyone using him is learning. We've got one coach, obviously started off struggling, and the other one is going quite well. But again, the Bleeding Clowns aren't a seasoned team. This is a fresh team that Scott is playing here. So he too is having to work around skilling them up, looking at how he wants to advance the team and where to take them. Plenty of fouls by the Chaos Dwarfs in the first half, so obviously they got some of those corns knocked down on the floor. So, they were doing their job. They just not quite enough by the looks of it.
Acredes loves the 2-0 is the comment in chat. Good evening again, Chris. Tom, your takes on this match? Some different levels now. Is there a definite gap now between these 2 teams on that league ladder?
Yeah, last week was the kind of the week of the weather causing problems. This week it's the week of death by the looks of things, because I've never seen so many games being played in such quick succession where lots of players are dead. Yeah, it just sounds a bit unfortunate, as Phil quite rightly says. There seems to be fouling there, so clearly there are opposition players on the pitch, on the floor, but just can't break armor or can't remove them off the pitch. Yeah, well, we all know how Scott plays. Any team he plays with kind of passion and real experience, and for Harry to come back for, I think it's his 2nd season, which is great to see, but with a new team that I don't know if anyone's ever played them before, not in this guise anyway. It's take my hat off to him to do it, but yeah, unfortunately it just sounds like the dice didn't roll his way.
He didn't. Evening, Scott, in chat. 2 wins and a draw from the first 3, doing well. Harry had the prayer for foul SPP. He went for it, but it didn't work, thankfully. Excellent. And the clown's looking very good. Lots of balloons to represent each model getting a casualty. They've got tentacles, they've got claws, and monstrous mouth. So the ability to control where other players are with tentacles, the ability to break armor on that sweet 8 with the claws, and then monstrous mouth for the extra catching as well. Plus all the block and Juggernaut as well is always a great combo. A good solid base to go from then, Phil.
Very solid base. Bit of randomness going on here. Love a bit of randomness. I know you do, Scott. Would you want to? I suppose on lineman it doesn't really matter, does it? You'd always go for random on lineman.
I think random on alignment is a good shout. It's the minimal SP, it's the most return, it's only adding another 10k, and you've always got a chance that at least one of them will get something you like to stick with as well. So I think that's a really, really ominous looking starting after, especially in a position like that after 3 games. Yeah, I think Acredes is going to be looking forward to the next few matches. Wouldn't say licking his lips or rubbing his hands, but maybe rubbing his hands and licking his lips. So moving away, Tom, you mentioned that last week was the week of weather. Well, if we go to our next match, then this is Justin and the T-Belly Trudgers, the Halflings, versus Nick and the Inglorious Pustards as well. This was really affected by the weather. So we had pouring rain, and as well as that, the Halflings had the disturbing presence of Nurgle. Justin put he put a comment as well into Discord. No passes or throw teammate. And it really, really went down to the wire in terms of getting the result on this one. A lot of fouls. So really Nick pressing home his advantage when you didn't have that level of ball movements within the game. And 4 casualties still against the Halflings, but still the Halflings almost become elves for the night. Justin's feedback that the last game to score, you like this, Tom and Phil, in terms of being fans of elves and Skaven and all things agile as well. Justin had a 4+ pickup, a 5-up handoff, 2 rushes, and then he had to do it. And Nick actually apparently killed a tree, and the APOC saved the tree from becoming a zombie tree. So the weather really helping Nurgle and the Pustards there as well. Tom, is this really was this results a great result for Justin, especially in terms of the rain and the opposition?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a fantastic game. It's nice to see when you get those kind of starts to the game where clearly we know with Halflings one of their key ways of moving the ball up and scoring touchdowns is throwing the actual teammates. So having to kind of have that just taken away from you, but still continue to play and to be able to come up with another way of how best to do this, how best to get a touchdown. And as you say, it did go right to the wire. It went all the way through to turn 16 to finally get that touchdown. So, Nick did not make it easy for him one little bit by the looks of things. And again, there's a death, as you mentioned, but it didn't come to... Did they actually get a lineman from that? Because it's got an injury dead +1. So they gain a new lineman on that?
It was the Halflings who actually killed the Rot lineman, Phil. And I think
right.
Tom, and I think that counts for the next one. But Phil, a Halfling killing something, that's always a bonus for the evening, isn't it?
It is for the Halfling, yeah. Be very happy with that, I would have thought. Probably not as happy for the Nurgle team, but yeah, any time you get a stunty player kill something twice its size, you got to be happy with that.
Is indeed. So Justin starting off with 2 wins from 2, although he does go into his next match 1 tree less. but of course his other tree does have block, and I suspect he'll have quite a number of inducements. Would you get another tree, or would you just get the inducements for the maybe a star player or two, Phil?
Well, once I think the star players, we've noticed a couple of games, they've not actually fared very well, have they? We've had one dead, one gone off injured. You know, in that scenario, they haven't been worth it. Although the one star player that hasn't been injured or killed, Acorn yet. So, just take the squirrel. Seems to survive.
He definitely seems to be more resilient in this season so far. He was taking quite a bit last week, and this week, as you quite rightly say, he's stayed on the pitch by the sounds of things.
Well, we've had then, let's keep with that theme then in terms of star players and a healthy amount of inducements. Let's go to our next match. Again, a good result there for Justin, and another good performance by Nick. I think that victory for Nick is just around the corner. Let's go on then to John and the Crimson Coven, Dark Elves. This is John's first match of the season. They only played the team a couple of times versus Mr. Scott Norman and the Jaffa Cakes. Good evening in chat, Scott, if you are in. Now, genius or insanity or both, you decide. If you look at it, Scott had 1 million insanity, despite having an expensive mistake and losing 765,000 gold pieces. He still has 1 million. And I was actually there when he did his bingo caller of death selection methodology. So John actually drew the balls to select which star players. And as a result, he drew Fungus Saloon, and then he also drew Grack and Crumbleberry, which actually meant that Scott couldn't get the giant in his team roster because the 2-star players had filled up his roster. But despite that, he actually, we wish we could all do this, had the 300,000 for the Halfling Master Chef, Riotous Rookies, who again came through with an extra 4 linemen there as well. So 5 linemen there as well. So yeah, really good setup. And really, if you look at the result as well, watching this, lots of KOs, lots of fouls and niggling injuries. And it was just a war of attrition when you looked at the number. I think the Dark Elves were down to 4 at one stage. So when you've got 13 players, all stunty, all with sidestep, unless you put them down, they're not going anywhere, and a never-ending supply on the bench with star players. Phil, do you look at the Jaffa Cakes and think, I want to avoid them at all costs, or would you just be praying to get or to roll for a star player who maybe wasn't the megastar?
I'd want both. I'd want to avoid them like the plague, because, like I say, the randomness of those star players, you could come against a monster of a team. On the other hand, I reckon it'd be a hell of a laugh to go in, not knowing exactly what you're going to come up against. And you still got all those snotlings you can still bash around the pitch and try and clear off. There's still, bashing and fun to be had there with them. It's just you're avoiding those big guys, which, you don't know which ones are coming around to avoid.
So the Halfling Master Chef as well took all of John's rerolls, just to put that in perspective. So when you thought you had something to rely on, you get nothing. So Tom, perhaps John, as his first match of the season, just came up against the swarms that were employed by Scott Norman and just couldn't get a foothold in the match.
Yeah, I think this team is genius. It's really kind of rebalance the whole way of playing, because I think it's the fact is that even if you don't look to win the whole the whole season, at least you're going to have an absolute laugh every game. And as has been mentioned in the chat, it's the fact that he's letting people randomly select the star players by picking balls out of a bingo roller just adds to the extra fun of the whole event. But equally, you're just picking things and going, how on earth am I going to defend against this? It just every time we've seen him play a game, the inducements just look absolutely crazy. Yeah. All the best to him, because I love listening and seeing what inducements he brings. And the fact is that everything's just snotlings, plus also Papa Skullbones. I'd be really interested how well he performed, because obviously he can give selected people on the pitch certain mutations and things like that. So that'd be interesting to see if someone got like extra arms and two heads or something like that.
He is. It's becoming a very potent and ominous team. And when you think about this setup, Fungus the Loon giving the strength 7, Grakan Crumbleberry as well, and he's still got a giant as and when he wants it at 300k, which is very ominous indeed. I'm looking forward to seeing the Jaffa Cakes when they do take on John Reader and his Terrors. So that'll be a very interesting matchup. I think that's one that's definitely.
It might be the only way to stop John.
Stream. Who knows? That could give us all insights as well. But a fantastic game. So well done, Scott. Well done, John, for a great spectacle as well. We're going to move very quickly on to the Cherry Bombs versus the Washington Deadskins. Why? Because this, as you can see from the timer, is still ongoing. Only the 22 hours in terms of match length left on this one. To give you guys a bit update, as yours truly, coach of the Atomic Cherry Bombs, myself and Jack's second game of the season. We started and got to the end of closing store, so we agreed rather than to call it, we've got 4 turns each. The match is very finely balanced. I got a tree for the elves to give a bit of that, but as the tree has taken root and basically on all activations and not moved all game, it's a bit frustrating. Both teams unbeaten at the moment. It's the first season for Jack in the ADBBL, and it's really anyone's to play for. So, the elves failed 2 rushes with dodge, not 2 rushes, 2 dodge reroll situations to score touchdowns, and 2 big bundles of players getting very messed up and war dancers doing what they're war dancing as well. We're talking about inducements, and one of the things is, as you can see in that, Jack actually had more inducements than he was expecting. So he took Count Luther von Drakenborg, the vampire favorite, and he is a very, very terrifying individual as well. Strength 5, Strength 5 with block, with his extra reroll skill opportunity as well. He is one who you're trying to stay the best away from. So unless you gentlemen have any specific questions or requests for Jack to kill any more elves, we'll come back to that next week.
I don't mind if he targets your tree at all, Scott, but
the tree is doing his best to be crap and just stand in the middle of the pitch, really, Phil.
Don't forget those war dancers are nice targets, surely, as well.
Oh, he has been desperately trying to kill war dancers. He's KO'd some.
Not trying to give him pointers or anything, because I've still got to play you as yet. But
you do. Jack is doing his best to try and kill the war dancers. He KO'd one, and and I think if it wasn't for sidestep on the other one, I could be in a bit of an issue. So it is going to be down to the roll of the dice. 4 turns each. Game to be completed this Friday evening. Bring the full update on that next week. So going from the rooting of trees to our next match, which was our Black Hawks and Simon and the Wildmere Wasps versus Carl. Evening, Carl in chat, and the Plague Brigade, this year's Skaven offering as well. Well, where do you want to start on this? Tom, looking at that, another challenging evening and full of pain for those rats being punched in the face by the orcs.
Yeah, those rats really can't catch a break, can they? Even with Skitter, Stab, and Bomber Dribble Snot on the lineup as well. And this is actually the first 2-1 game I think we've had for a very long time, especially this week anyway. It's been either... So it's good that both teams actually got touchdowns at some point. But yeah, I don't unfortunately feel sorry for the Plague Brigade. It just seemed to... Oh, we got a chat in saying that someone rolled really high throughout the game and kept his goblins out of punching range. Oh, such a shame, really. Yeah. And these Black Orcs are an interesting actual team, because I often find that on paper they're like, okay, well, you've got 6 Black Orcs, but which are strength 4 but movement 4 as well, I believe. But they're a bit like beefed up beefed up dwarfs, but they've got brawler and grab, and then you're kind of relying heavily on those goblins. But clearly, with the Wildermere Wasps have got enough skills now on some of these goblins. And there's Cedar Trick seems to be quite a potent one there, with sidestep, defensive, and a safe pair of hands. So that's clearly helping out a lot in this team.
It is indeed. So we see this as a classic grinding match for the Orcs, grinding that offense and really making those rats earn their money as punch bags for the evening. Though the rats did come back to 1-1, so they prove they can do it as well. Carl's got the 3rd gutter runner as well now, Phil, although he is missing his Roger and one of his blitzers for the next game. What are the next steps for Carl and for the Plague Brigade, from your opinion there, Phil? Where would you go next?
By the looks of it, he's taken a very agile route for his team. Like I say, the 2 gutter runners, although one of them stat busted on the pass. No, whether you do any passing with a gutter runner, I doubt it. But yes, very, very agile with the team. Whether he'll miss the Rat Ogre, I don't know. Depends how much of a factor he played in the games. Whether he was just there as, just to be a nuisance in the wall, whether he was key to creating a hole, to punching through, to being used possibly as someone to box the ball in.
And Tom, if you were playing against Carl now and his team, would you be more concerned about having the 3 gutter runners without the ogre, or the ogre and the Roger, and 2 gutter runners?
I'd probably say the Roger and 2 gutter runners, because then I've played against Rogers when they've been on form, and they are lethal. They are really dangerous, and they can really disrupt a team. I still think it's possible with 2 gutter runners, although it starts to get a little bit kind of more complicated. Looking in the chat again, apparently made a fundamental mistake on his turn 7. He didn't move a gutter runner into scoring range before starting punching, and rolled a skull into a skull. I think we've all been there, unfortunately. But yeah, all the best for the next games, and hopefully this Play Brigade will come through. And as I always say, start scoring 4 touchdowns easily.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll bring some cold comfort for Carl, especially as he's up against Coach Acredes and the Bleeding Clowns this weekend. So that could be ominous, Phil.
Yes. Very.
We will watch that with bated breath and stretchers on the sideline then. So, Carl, good luck with that. You have the tools in your armory to dodge and score. We all know how frustrated Skaven can be in a good and a not so good way. So just the 3 matches left to go for this week's roundup then. We're going to go on then to look at JD and his Norse, Odin's Raven, against Graham and his Amazons, Lavender Lynxes. So really dodge versus block, block versus dodge. Where is your money at? Mutually friendly casualties between both of them. And when I did see it in the week as well, I just caught the snapshot where the Yeti had actually caught the ball. And I was hoping that the Yeti was going to plow down the pitch for maybe a couple of turns touchdown as well. Phil, was this block versus dodge fest? Was this the immovable object versus the unstoppable force?
I mean, you'd say on paper that's the sort of game you're looking at. It doesn't look too eventful on tour play. Obviously, there were players on the floor because there are fouls occurring. Niggling injury for one side, a stat bust for the other, and agility as well. Amazons won't like that. Whether either team is disappointed or happy with this result, I couldn't possibly say. Like I say, you can't read a lot really from this feed on here.
Nope.
It looks just pretty even.
Yeah, there were a lot of incidents which, there were knockouts, but, there were blocks and dice, and there was a lot more happening on the pitch than it appears in terms of the tour play as well. Both coaches were very happy with the 0-0 result. Tom, one of those games where it's, again, very close to call. We've got a lot of finely balanced teams in the league this year.
Yeah, and it's a bit of Groundhog Day for Graham because he played North last week against Jack and his team, and again keeping it to a draw, 1-1 in that previous match and 0-0 here. It's interesting to watch these two because I have actually got both these teams to play against later in the season. In fact, I'm playing JD on Thursday, so it's an interesting one that, like you say, looks quite quiet, but clearly there was a lot of tactical play happening, and unfortunately that agility on that line woman. Whether or not Graham will get rid of her before the next match, I don't know.
Personally, I would, but in terms of that. So we look very quickly at JD's teams, the Odin's Raven. What's your thought on that as you're the next opposition?
Yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? He's got some really good players on that team. Even though he's down a player, he's still got a full team of 11. That lineman with Mighty Blow doesn't look. I'm just a bit worried about that. When you've got that kind of skill on a lineman, you get kind of just don't really care. Really, you're kind of YOLOing it on that side of things. The Berserker looks quite crazy as well, so I'm gonna try and keep my ogre away from him because he's got Dauntless, and also that Valkyrie. This is something I've never played Norse, but I've played against them quite a lot. And it seems that the Valkyries do tend to get themselves skilled up really quickly, no doubt being the main scorers in the teams. There's an accurate and kick as well, which is not giving me very much confidence on my game.
Stat busted Valkyrie though, so
yeah,
it's vulnerable.
But
it's vulnerable.
You've got a couple of good runners on your team as well, Tom. So so congratulations, well done JD, and well done Graham on that, and also extra congratulations JD from starting to give Tom some sleepless nights before your next match as well. So going away from the dodge versus the block, we're then going to go on to Chorf versus Norse. Try saying that a few times. So two coaches with two new teams this season. Tom coming into this, both of them actually coming into this unbeaten as well. Tom was 2 from 2. In terms of looking at the style, Tom obviously playing the Chorfs, a new one as well for Dave. Helmut Wolf joined the Norse in terms of his big chainsaw, and really looking at it, it was a strong start from Dave. Reading the reviews as well, it was a tactical game. There's no Valkyrie for the next match. But in terms of the casualties, Dave really held his own against receiving the ball. So what would have been a classic Tom Huns 2-1 grind. Was this a moral victory for Dave, Phil?
I would say so. Was this his first game? Let me have a quick look. No.
No, he's
No.
playing
Third game.
James. Yep.
Yeah. 2 draws, 1 win. Like I say, you'd take a draw in this league format because it's there's only 2 ways you can get points: a win or a draw. So you'd be happy with that, especially coming against this Chaos Dwarf team, because we got some thought about skill upgrades here. Guard, block. This is after a few more games, few more SP. This is going to be a difficult team to come against, I reckon. So to get the points against them now while you can, even if it's just a 1 point, I think that's a decent result.
Also, it's brought Tom's winning streak to an end.
It does indeed. And does this give everyone else then, Tom, a glimmer of hope and maybe some tactical insight into how to take on the Chaotic Storm?
Yeah, I think it's, there starts to be some chinks in the armour on it. Although, let's be honest, it's Tom. He'll definitely find a way of coming back from this. He won't be put off by a draw. So good luck to whoever he's facing next.
So a very good win very good win. That was wishful thinking. A very good draw for Dave. And again, maintaining his unbeaten start to the season for Tom. Again, 3 games in, long way to go yet. That brings us to our last game of the season. So this is Korn and the Magic number 8 versus Nurgle and the Magic number 7. This is Owen and his Korn team. First rookie game. So welcome Owen to the league. Owen taking on the season 6 champion Elliot, who, as we said before, didn't go with the Necro from last year's conference championship. He's gone for Nurgle this year. In terms of some of the feedback from the coaches on this one, it started off really well for the Korn team. Korn was smiling on his man as well. A dodging Bloodseeker served the ball carrier. However, Nuffle said no with a failed rush to deny the first score. And after that, it seems to have gone the way of Nurgle. 1 dead lineman, even then getting an infected player back. So when you think you've lost, Nuffle says, we'll have that dead player for us as well. And then Phil, just lots of fouling and control of the game by Elliot to get that 1-0 win.
Yeah, ekes it out. Like I say, it was a touchdown at turn 8 by looks of it, end of the first half. And then it was probably just straight up bullying and trying to keep people on the floor with the amount of fouls. If you can stop your enemy from moving down the pitch, then taking that 1-0 win is all you need. 3 points in the bag.
Yep, so that takes Elliot nicely to a 2-1 record. So we're starting to see maybe Nurgle start to, get Elliot getting used to Nurgle and all its foibles. And Tom, a good result there for Owen, something to build on. Obviously, Owen having a lot of coaching from the Huns stable. So not looking bad in terms of his first match and his first result.
No, I wouldn't feel disappointed with that. And equally, rolling monstrous mouth on his lineman isn't a bad mutation skill, actually. just need someone to throw the ball to. But also be aware that, you know, even though that player's got the ball, they cannot be affected by strip ball, which is good. So it's not the best mutation, but equally it's not the worst. So I think that's a quite good start to start building up this corn team.
Had a better first corn game than I did.
Did you want to? I thought you'd forgotten about that game.
I'll
Against
never be
Elliot,
able to
especially there,
forget,
Phil.
so I might as well embrace it. I
Embrace
dare
it.
someone to go out there and lose 7-0.
And just a shout out to Acredes, because we do talk about our community. We do talk about helping all our new rookie coaches as well. Best thing about the Corn Nurgle game was Elliot helping his opponent. Elliot knew he was new and offered help. Top coaching. Well done, Elliot. Fully support those sentiments. Thank you, Acredes, for shouting it out. Well done, Elliot, upholding the fine traditions and standing of our community as well. And Owen, keep the chin up. That win will come, especially such a good performance after that first match as well. Okay, so that's the 12 matches. We've seen a really mixed bag this evening. Before we go on to look at the standings, Tom, match of the week for you.
I think it'll have to be the Jaffa Cakes one. I just find that they're just always going to be absolutely crazy matches by the sounds of things. You're never going to be able to plan them. You're never going to be able to do any kind of pre-match kind of tactics against them. And 1-0 with so many people on the floor, it just sounds like it was a horrific match, but great fun, no less.
And Phil, your match of the week?
I'll have to agree with Tom. I mean, when you have a match that's going to be as random as this every time, how can it not be entertaining? Even if it's just 1-0.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you both because I just want to be different, because I do think the Jaffa Cakes versus the Dark Elves was a great game, the Blood Coven. But I'm going to actually go, Phil, for your match, the Knights versus Sir Honkingtons. I think a game of two halves, lots of SP, lots of casualties, some deaths in there. And it's really interesting to watch two conflicting styles of team playing each other. So, yeah, I thought that was a great game to watch coming through onto a play. Let's have a look at the standings. Phil, if you can do the honours. So if we look at the Amorical Blood Bowl, the ABBC, we look at that. Jane currently top of the leaderboard there. 3 wins, 1 loss out of their 4 games. Phil nicely there with Tom in second place as well. We've actually now in this division, we've got 6 unbeaten teams. We've only got the 2 on 100% records. Myself and Jack, the Cherry Bombs versus the Deadskins. However, that comes to a conclusion on Friday, so I suspect we will be down to either 1 or 0. Well, we will be down to 1 or 0. How does that work, Scott? Yeah, do maths for a living. So we're looking at that. Biggest movement of the week, though, if you look at it, Elliot moving up to 4th in terms of that. So he started to make there. And then after that, great result against the Chaos Storm. Dave and his Nuffle Dusters, the Norse team there, moving up ominously to 5th. So, again, still only 9 points between all teams. Everything to play for. Tom, what you say? What's your standout from looking at that league table at the moment?
The fact that Tom Huns is in 3rd, slowly going down the ladder. It's great to see Jane leading the way as well. That Necromantic Horror team is a fantastic team, and I wish her all the success in her last 2 games.
I'm glad I've already played Jane, because that werewolf that's going to be a dangerous player.
It is indeed. It is indeed. There's a lot to play for, and as well, there's a lot of teams there just with getting 1 or 2 matches and 1 or 2 wins and good results, and results going their other way. Even a 1-0 win just shows how quickly the league can turn. If we scroll down then to the other conference, the Nuffles Blood Bowl conference, the NBBC, Mr. John Reader sitting proud at the top of that mounting as well. Another 6 unbeaten teams, but you've actually got 5 coaches here who are unbeaten. You've got John, the Prince of the Vampires, taking that title from Tom now. You've got Mr. Chris Coe, you've got Justin, you've got Scott, and you've got Harrison. So plenty of matches to go. I suspect there's a long, long way in this division to go yet. We've even got, well, apologies to Rich, that gives us 6 coaches unbeaten because Rich hasn't played a game there. And I think it's only as well time before Leanne and Nick start taking games and wins in the bag to take matches off people as well. So a really competitive league there. And we can see what happens if you look down at 8th as well. Simon, after that 2-1 win as well, leapfrogging up 6 places. I feel like a bit of a Tony Blackburn chart there, up 6 places to number 8. So really a great result there for Simon. Yeah, any complaints, put them in triplicate, send them into store.
Send them
Tom,
to
your
Scott's
take up.
Facts.
Absolutely. Tom, your takeaway from the division.
Yeah, this is a pretty dangerous division anyway. There's some very well experienced players in here, and it's still quite early days on this one. As you say, there's a lot of people who haven't got any losses or draws yet, but the majority of people have only played 2 games or less. So there's still a long way to go in this division.
Phil, your takes from Nuffle's Blood Bowl conference. Do you agree there with Tom in terms of there's a long way to go, a lot of good coaches, a lot of experience in here as well, and anyone can win on the day?
There are a lot of good coaches. This is a scary looking league table as far as coaches are concerned. It's whether or not can anyone catch John. He's played that one extra game, but 5-point gap there at the top. Is there a chink in the armor anywhere?
I don't know. He's got 12-1 in terms of his touchdown score, but he's got 1.4 million. So I'm absolutely dying to see what star players Scott Norman pulls out of the bag for that one in particular as well.
Can you have 2 giants on the pitch?
I don't think you can, but it would be wonderful if he could. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see when that hits the stream then to see what happens. Last but by no means least, what you're looking forward to coming up in the calendar list for this week's fixtures? Phil, is there any particular one match that jumps out for you?
Oh, well, I might keep an eye on Tom's game on Thursday. He's due a win. You can't have bad luck all the while.
That was the kiss of death if ever there was one.
The luck has to change. The luck has to change. It can't be all bad dice. And of course, you can't ignore those Snotlings versus Vampires Friday night.
I'm not too sure if that is actually happening Friday.
Is it not?
I don't know if anyone in chat is to yes. Carl, Netflix have the streaming rights to it as part of Tom's contractual Comedy Central channel. I'm not too sure if chat can confirm if that match between the Snotlings and the Vampires is going ahead Friday. Because if you look,
there's
on
another
Friday
game,
as well,
isn't there? Yeah.
John is down to play Justin. So yeah, either John's feeling very confident that he can roll the Snotlings in about 90 minutes. Yeah, or it's a bit of a issue in terms of the fixture bookings there, but I'm sure that'll be good. Yeah, and actually the one I'm looking forward to as well is on Friday evening. Luke, who's sitting 3rd in the league, versus Simon, coming off the back of that win against the Rats, the Orphic Gladiators against the Wildmere Wasps. So that'll be a very interesting match for the 2 coaches. This is their 2nd season. Redrafted team for Simon and a new team for Luke, so looking forward to that as well. A reminder to everybody, if you are booking your matches, agree the time and date, and just one of you book that table through Scott, not his personal number. Don't knock on his door again. Pop into store, drop the store a note, call him in store, and get those booked in as soon as you can. And a big, big thank you to everybody who's participated on this as well. Chris Coe may or may not be back with us next week. But in the meantime, anyway, whatever happens, Phil, a big, big thank you from you for all your help and technical support tonight. Chris, Tom, thank you very much for your audacity, your insight, and all-round sophistication as always. I've been Scott. This has been week 3 ADBBL. Happy Blood Bowls. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.